Hi, Elle Ingalls here at pressure-free.com, wishing you a beautiful pressure-free morning. Simple tip for you today. I learned this tip over a year ago when I was visiting a friend in Denver, and she lent me a book. And the book was by a fellow, Dr. John DeMartini. And I'm going to share a tip out of that book that I started to employ right away, and it made a really big difference in a couple of ways for me. So I'm hoping that this is helpful for you too. So one of the biggest stressors that we have are our finances. If you ask people, especially like newlywed couples, people who've been married for a while, what are they fighting about? It's usually money. Money is at the top of the list. When I interview people and talk with them, sometimes they don't reveal it right away, in a strategy session, but as we start working in the course, it usually comes out that there's something around money. And money in some families is a real taboo subject, not for me, and I see Pamela's on here and Catherine, so nice to have you here, that it's a real taboo subject. In fact, I hear people sometimes say that, money is evil and I don't want to make a lot of money because that means I'm greedy. And so there's all sorts of thoughts about money. And I grew up with a father who was a bank president. So we talked about money in our family. My parents were extremely frugal. They were New Englanders. And of course they came out of the Depression. So growing up, they had very little. I say they have very little, but they had incredibly rich childhoods. So it's interesting how people feel about money and think about money. So this tip is to help start you freeing up about how you think about money. So I have a question for you. When you pay your bills or a bill comes in, especially if it's a bill for something unexpected, maybe an auto repair or a medical bill or something, what is your mood when you're paying that bill? Are you pressure-free about it, or are you a little bit anxious or annoyed or even angry that you have to pay this bill? In other words, is your body tight? Are you actually going into fight or flight because you're having to pay for something? When you go to a restaurant and maybe you're treating a bunch of people and the bill comes to you and it's higher than you expect, what is going on in your body? What are you feeling? So this tip is to start to turn that around. Of course, you can use pressure-free tools, and my number one tool for anything about this is to relax my abs, because we're going to go into body armor whenever we feel some sort of threat, and money can feel like a threat, or having to pay a bill can feel like a threat to our well-being. So relaxing your abs is the number one tool here, but I want you to go a little deeper and try this. The next time you pay a bill, any kind of bill, I want you to step into the fact of what is it that you received for that bill. Maybe your furnace broke and you had to pay someone to fix your furnace. We live here in the north. Maybe you had to have your chimney swept. Maybe you had an unexpected medical emergency and you're paying that bill finally, like months later after it goes through all the insurance, and now you've got something you need to pay. But what service did you actually get for that bill? And are you grateful for that service? Even something as basic as your utilities. We get to flip a switch and turn the lights on. They didn't get to do that 250 years ago. They had to go through so much just to have light when it was dark. And we just flip a switch. We don't think anything about it. And then the utility bill comes and then we're pissed off because we have to pay this bill. But we just had something pretty miraculous happen. So are you grateful for your services? Once you begin developing some gratefulness for what you're receiving by paying your bills in gratitude, that's going to switch how people, because don't you want people who are paying you for some sort of service to be grateful for that service? Are we grateful for the services we're receiving? So I kind of believe that it's a karma thing, that it's going to come back to you when you start paying in gratitude. I'm a very big tipper. I was a server. I was on the other end. And yes, I had great days and I made great tips, but every once in a while I'd have a crappy day. And if someone gave me a big tip, oh my gosh, it would turn everything around for me. It's not easy work to be on your feet for all those hours. People don't think about that. I see my friend Fuzawa, and I was waiting tables and hosting at this restaurant when my professors came in to say they were discussing whether or not they were going to admit me into the conducting program. And I'd been on my feet for hours already. Get up at 4:30, it's hard work. So I always reward people with big tips. just because I've been on that other side, and I do it gratefully, never with any sort of resistance. So see if you can start paying your bills in 2019 with gratitude. Really grateful for the services you're receiving, whether it's your water bill. You know, we receive clean water so cheaply in the US. It's incredible. And that gratefulness for that. I have to say this because there are two things that I think people talk about politically that are what I call misnomers. One is the Flint water crisis. Okay, it was a Flint water pipe crisis. It was the pipes that the water was coming in through. And then the other is we're doing healthcare reform. It's not healthcare reform, it's health insurance reform. I'm not quite sure why politicians don't want to name things exactly what they are, but I'm a stickler for semantics. That's why in my courses you'll always hear me explain what terms I use and why I call them certain things and how I define them, because people define stress in so many ways. So I hope this tip is helpful. I hope you start to move into gratitude for what you're paying for, so that when people pay you, they're grateful for your services and what you provide. It'll be interesting for you to see what kind of resistance you experience as you move through the next couple months and the bills come. Notice if you're getting tight. Notice if your abs are tight, if your throat gets tight. If you start, grinding your teeth because you're paying this bill. If your forehead goes like this. Put a video camera up and videotape yourself paying your bills. That would be interesting. So I hope you have a fabulous pressure-free day. I have spent the last 2 days working really diligently on my book, adding many more pages, and because I keep saying it since 2012, but 2019 is my year. In 2012 I wrote my ebook. If you haven't purchased my ebook yet, it's only $19 on my website. That's a really fast workbook to get you started with pressure-free. It matches my courses, but of course my courses go more deeply. But if you want just a little starter, that's already up and running. But I'm writing my big book right now, and Pamela says, great advice, thank you for that. I'm so looking forward to meeting you, Pamela. We have so many things we can talk about. So thanks so much for being on today. Wishing you a great pressure-free day, and I will see you soon. Bye.